Taylor Guitars' new Legacy Collection honors the tradition that has turned Taylor Guitars into the company it is. We showed you the first 3 in the lineup. We finally have 2 more. We're excited to show you, so stick around. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music in San Antonio, Texas, and you can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and like our videos. If you'd like to support the channel, visit our spring store link below for custom swag, and check out our podcast, the Fretboard Confessional, wherever you get your podcasts. Josh is making hand motions on the side, and it's cool. I'm digging it, trying not to laugh. So we've got some great guitars to show you. If you follow the channel, you've already seen some of Taylor's Legacy collection. So this is really the first time they've ever done something like this. It's an honoring of the 50 years that they've been around, of the designs that really helped cement them in acoustic guitar manufacturing and make them the company that they are. And so they've gone back in time. They've done 3 models that are very much centered in the 70s, 80s designs of Taylor, and then 2 models set in the 90s. And we showed you the first 3, which were the 810, the 855, and the 514 CE, which we had just prior to launch. Finally, we've gotten the other 2 in that we've been excited to see. That's the 815E, which again sports the awesome mustache bridge, and something I've been excited to get my hands on, the 714 CE, straight out of the 90s, y'all.
How's your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was nearly a crisis, but
yeah,
pulled it out and enjoyed some turkey.
When I'm carving that turkey up, that's the only leg I see. So the Legacy Collection.
Dad joke.
Am I right? There we go. Okay, so
that belongs on a T-shirt.
714 CE. We both love the 514.
Yeah.
And this should be somewhat similar, but give us a scoop.
714 CE is, again, straight out of the 90s. So in these 5 guitars, the thing that you want to understand is that the 815, the 855, and the 810 are all from the kind of 70s, 80s era of Taylor, and you'll see those specs in there. For the 514 and 714, this is from the 90s, and it was in 94 that the Grand Auditorium body shape was introduced. That was the 20th anniversary of Taylor Guitars. It's funny, I think I said in the first video that was the 30th anniversary, and that's just because if you're like me and you're in your 40s, the 90s were only 10 years ago, right? No. Sadly, they weren't. So in 1994, Taylor comes out with the Grand Auditorium. It's become probably the second most copied shape in acoustic guitars, and it really cemented to who they were. It was their first original design. They had the Jumbo and the Dreadnought, which were borrowed designs from other manufacturers, something they had at American Dream. He had done the Grand Concert, which, there are other guitars similar to the Grand Concert. But the Grand Auditorium was taking a Dreadnought and giving it a tighter waist with the same depth and width at the lower bout, lighter gauge strings, a different feel, and creating a guitar that could do a lot of things very, very well, a jack of all trades, if you will. So this goes back to 90s specs. And the whole thing about these is, other than the neck joint, which continues to use the Taylor neck joint, or previously known as the NT neck joint, everything else here is a throwback. So we have a Grand Auditorium body with a cedar top, which I love, and rosewood, East Indian rosewood back and sides, black binding. You've got the white purfling, the classic Taylor pickguard, ebony bridge shape, and the abalone rosette, along with very simple abalone dot inlays and your headstock with gold tuners on it for the guitar. This is what you essentially would have gotten in the 90s and the early 2000s on a 714. And this was one of their more popular guitars. Yeah. The thing that separates this from the things that are out there used on the market is, of course, the new neck joint. The ones from the era would have had this very simple, classic bolt-on neck joint. That's what's on my old 914C. It was very simple. It didn't have the shims, and you couldn't really adjust the angle as easily as you can on these. The other cool thing that they're doing on all of these guitars is doing the LR Baggs electronics, because that's what would have been in them at the time, usually a Fishman or an LR Baggs. So instead of the ES2 pickup system, you're getting X-brace design, throwback aesthetics, and a very simple undersaddle pickup to go with it. With this guitar, this is my jam. I like the 514. Yeah. Cedar mahogany has a very airy quality to it. With rosewood, it's like you're accentuating all the things you'd love about rosewood.
It's the chocolate cake.
It's the chocolate cake. It's super rich. All of the overtones are there. It's very, very warm, and it's very responsive. So, like, this is a great light strumming guitar. You can dig, heavy onto it too. My sister-in-law's got a K14 like this, and she strums pretty hard. Sounds great. But for fingerstyle stuff, particularly, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So this is 90s era, and some of the things that you'll see differing from this. So this has the current Taylor headstock that you're used to, with what we'd call the scooped ears. Over here on the other side, we got a straight-eared Taylor headstock on this classic 815.
815, we showed you the 855, which would be the 12-string version, but old school jumbo, mustache bridge, two whales kissing.
Is that like the Wolverine mask? It's two Batmans kissing?
Yeah. Beautiful Sitka top on here with a lot of silk, medullary lines, if you catch the drift. But yeah, old school 800 series, white binding, East Indian rosewood back and sides, glossy neck of hog, and what do they call that one? Like kind of something diamond?
It's a slotted diamond.
Slotted diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the old straight guy, the paddle on the headstock. But very cool guitar. Not surprisingly, overtone heavy as well. Really nice, just kind of reverb and harmonics hanging out in there, just finger picking this guitar. It's great. But for a big old strummer, it'll do the job as well.
Yeah, these are both fantastic guitars, very responsive. They really help to illustrate why Taylor, grew to be the, renowned guitar company that they are. Take a listen, see for yourself. So there you have it. 2 more guitars round out the Legacy collection from Taylor. If you saw our previous video, then you know one of the things that they're doing on the first 100 guitars is that they are each individually hand-signed by Bob Taylor and Kurt Listug. They're not limited as a series, other than the signature, if that appeals to you. One of the things I'll say, we knew kind of something like these guitars were coming for a while, maybe. And when I first heard that there might be something like an 855 and 815, the first thing was, I hope they do the mustache bridge.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to do that. We got to interview Bob and Taylor at the Taylor factory.
Bob and Taylor.
Bob and Andy, thank you. Bob Taylor and Andy Powers at the Taylor factory when we were out there and talking a little bit about the Legacy collection, what it means for the Legacy. And I also interviewed Bob, which we put on our podcast. So if you haven't seen those videos, you should check that out because there's a lot of interesting information in there. The deal about the mustache bridge from Bob was interesting because they were a real chore to make.
I imagine, yeah.
Back in the day. Of course, CNC simplified things now, but you look at that design of the 2 kissing whales, as you put it, and yeah, I can imagine that would be. He was talking about like basically tracing out and getting it all cut, and then you'd have to come back and do a different cut, and then a bevel and so forth.
It's nuts.
The other thing that struck me when I think it was in the interview I did with just Bob, we talked about cedar. So cedar was on a lot of guitars. If I think back to, they had a red catalog in the late 90s. It was their catalog from like 98 to 2000. And they had cedar on 514s, 714s, K14s, W14s, which was their Walnut series. And then that was it. And it was like an option you could get on some other guitars. And then slowly cedar kind of went away. And I thought it was for other reasons, like it fell out of favor with customers or what have you. And it turns out it was actually a supply issue.
Really?
That Bob said that they piggybacked on other industries, as they often do, because we might talk about tone woods for guitar companies, but they're not huge. There's not a huge demand from the guitar community for things relative to other industries.
Yeah.
So for cedar, it was roof tiles.
Yeah.
And according to, because of wildfires, they're not as popular anymore because it's kind of flammable. And so that kind of dried up. And they, it's more work now to get a nice Western red cedar top. But I'm glad that they sourced them because it's such a fantastic wood. Yeah.
All the cedar stuff, the Legacy guitars, but also some of the customs that we did with cedar tops, they're just great. And maybe since it sort of disappeared from a public eye a little bit, people have forgotten, like, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
People maybe have misconceptions about it being quiet or soft or anything, and it has those qualities, but it can do whatever you want it to do.
Yeah. No, I really dig it. Both of these are fantastic guitars. The other 3 are also really great. We, I think, sold out of our initial run, and we've been waiting for more. So one of the things we said at the outset with the first video is there will be some supply issues with these. For one, they're not in the normal manufacturing pattern of Taylor. So the bracing's different than what they've been doing day in and day out for a few years at this point. Obviously, the headstock shape is different on these. The pickups are different. And they've probably earmarked to manufacture fewer of them. And so there's going to be fewer of them available, particularly at the beginning. So we have cautioned that because of that supply constraint, if you are interested in the Legacy series, you should pre-order one if you have a particular model that you like.
And ask, because we've only gotten the first 3 from the video and these 2, which means we have 1 more of each that will be signed.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have another round that are signed, 10 guitars total coming to us that are signed, and then the rest, same guitar, no signature. You can still pre-order and
Robo signature.
Yeah, Robo signature. Also,
like Chase Bank does.
For the Taylor heads, if they were to expand the Legacy collection, what would you like to see? Do you have an answer to that? I
do. I pitched my answer to the man already when we were interviewing because it was hanging behind me. But I love my 914C, no E classic from that era. So I think it'd be cool to do that again. An 814 from that era would be very, very cool. I'd love to see a return of the Walnut series.
Yeah.
We've contemplated doing some builds like that before. Walnut's been kind of on the brain lately. We've had a number of Walnut guitars that were all Walnut, but there's two guitars that were from that era that I really like. One was the W14C, which was cedar and Claro walnut with an early 900 series inlay that was really cool. And they did an all Claro walnut W65, which was a 12-string Alcoa jumbo. That's Dave Matthews has one of those. There's a really cool photo of him from like way back on Guitar Player magazine where he's holding this W65. That's a cool guitar.
That's crazy.
So yeah, those would be
pretty
those
nice.
would be on my mind, yeah. So
GT Urban Ash.
that's you need to go further back.
Dude, no, that's my legacy right there.
So yeah, so there you have it. These are here available right now as we're doing this video. But PSA, you want to go to our website at
alamomusic.com.
You can purchase them online, but you can also ask us questions about them. And if it's not available online, when you go there, then like I said, we've got so many coming in that are signed and more after that. So, get in line if you really want one of these, because we've had a number, not just these, there's a number of guitars lately that have been introduced, and pre-order status is probably the way to go because there's not enough to go around really at the end of the day. Good problem to have. So,
Good problem.
And tells you how popular they are. So if you are new to our channel, what do you want to do?
You're going to want to subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on so you get the whenever something cool comes out, and so you don't miss out. And then comment and like and share.
Yeah, definitely comment, like Cooper said. What's your vote for Classic Taylor to enter the Legacy Collection? Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.